real well, and so I'm doing DoorDash full time now. So I'm going into Hickory, which is about an hour away. There's better money. So I'm driving. Anyways, I wanted to try and do something to get started on, I guess, taking the first step towards networking for Unanimous. Now, I don't know who put Unanimous online or what it's about or whatever. I'm in no way trying to do anything except for get involved. Listen, I had something I called Unanimous like this before that stuff came online. So there's been talk about them being terroristic or whatever. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not in any way affiliated with that. I just want to try and make a difference, to try and get out there and hopefully organize people. I don't know where to start. I don't have a network. I don't have anything really. I keep moving around, so I can't really find a base roots. I don't know. I'll figure out where I'm going when I get there, right? In the meantime, I just want to try to contribute and make a difference in the world. There's a lot of things that, excuse the clicking sound, I have to turn my hazards on. We're going into some really deep fog. There's a lot of things that just don't work in the system. There's a lot of, yes, I'm sure there's corruption, but mainly there's just a lot of negligence. There's just a lot of, I just say it like it is, there's condescending leadership. There's people who run programs and nonprofits and whatnot, and they want to help, and I'm sure they do. They say they want to, and you know, I'm sure deep down in their heart they want to help, but they don't know what it takes to actually help. They just want to kind of sit there and it's like you can provide somebody a roof, you know, you can give them shelter and you can give them 3 meals a day, but you can give them a shower, you know, stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that just need their hand held. They just need somebody to go with them. And it sucks, and it's one of those things, it shouldn't be necessary, but it's that extra support that they need, okay? And so, Salvation Army, for example, I have been there before in various cities, a couple different states. They just don't do what they need to do to help people. Now, there's plenty of people that benefit from the program, and those are the people who actually have the help they need, right? People with anxiety, people with a lot of trauma, PTSD, stuff like that, people that get triggered a lot, people that don't do well in group settings, maybe people that are more depressed than not, they're less likely to be able to go out and make something happen with that. Now, the alternative is the first thing you do when you get into a shelter is they try to see if you qualify for any free housing. Okay, that's the first thing they do. Go apply for food stamps, go apply for housing, go apply for this, apply for that, blah, 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 blah. And so they want you to take all these free handouts, right? They want you to take all this government benefit, which, I mean, it's a good thing to have, but it's not wise to have, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, we can be grateful and we can have those government benefits, but at the same time, it's counterproductive to the mission, okay? No, I'm not saying that food stamps is a bad program. I'm saying that it's being managed wrong, okay? I'm not saying that people shouldn't have help from the government. I'm saying that the way things are being handed out so frivolously is not only hurting everybody, but it's also hurting the government, and it's hurting the people who are receiving it. Yeah, I know people don't seem like they're to do anything for it, but in the long run, they are being hurt because they're not making anything of themselves. They're always going to be on somebody hand-feeding them. Their mentality is always going to be the beggar's mentality, and that's not okay. I mean, in a world where beggars are appreciated and practically, welcomed, it would be okay. But let's face it, nobody can afford to have beggars around all the time. And so what I have, and I haven't had time to just sit there and just really write it down and plan it out. I got a laptop and unfortunately I have the wrong cord, so I'm going to have to take it back. I can't even charge the damn thing. Anyway, so it was a pawn shop, so it was, just going to take it back. But, so the thing is that even though I don't have it written down, I have a plan in my mind. Like, I know what needs to be done. I know from going through the program. I know from being one of the ones, not only receiving the so-called help, but also one of the ones being denied the help. I know from the discrimination against people with anxiety and inability to handle crowds. And I say that specifically because that was my problem. I was like fresh meat. Everybody always wanted to pick on me. I have what's called knock-kneed syndrome, and I've had it since I was a little bitty girl. And all my life I've been made fun of because my knees knocked together and pigeon-toed too, for the most part. It took a while to get out of that. And I don't pay attention as much anymore, but I'm still trying to work on that. So hopefully I got out of it, but if not, So I was one of those picked on. Listen, my teeth, my teeth are really bad. Like, I can stick a whole food cake in an overbite. So, I got made fun of a lot. I got picked on a lot. I was kind. I was always generous. I always wanted to give everything to everybody. I always shared. I always was forgiving, but I had a really short fuse. And for the most part, I just wanted to be left alone. So I was a ticking time bomb. And growing up in CPS like I did, I was in group homes. And it's pretty much brought me into this institutionalized mindset. And it's that gimme, waiting for the next handout, beggar lifestyle. But I didn't ask. I just waited for it to be given. I tried to do the best I could, but I just knew that somebody was going to come help me. Well, when you have that type of way about you, when you're just pretty much an outcast. Like, I didn't fit in, but I wasn't I was picked on. It wasn't your typical school bullying kind of thing. I mean, they started fights, but they would just nitpick, and I just wanted them to leave me alone, and I stood up for myself, so they hit me. So of course I'm not just going to sit there and let them hit me. I'm going to start swinging right back, and I did. But I was too forgiving. So everybody wanted to be around me. Everybody wanted to be my friend when I had something. And then the second I made them mad, that's over. They're just taking advantage of me again. They're just abusing me again. So when I go into places like that, because of what I grew up in, I have that experience. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that have some similar reason why they can't enter shelters. Like, even the staff members, they'll hire a staff off the street, literally. They have some of their homeless shelter staff are homeless, and they're just, and so you got to be careful, because you'll get favoritism and you'll get all kinds of things, and then you get picked on and railroaded anyways, and then when the staff doesn't do anything but help them, then you really have issues. So that's not just that's anywhere you go, in any shelter, any program, any group setting you go, you're gonna have that type of thing happening. Okay, I would say it's just basic sociology, but the thing is that the key is to getting away from the shelters. It's to getting away from the programs. We're gonna stop putting people in these programs. We're gonna cut the funding of these programs, okay? And what we want to do, and some of it has to do with legal, there's going to be legal battles, and that's where, you know, the sponsors and stuff comes in. But some of it, not so much. That, obviously, cutting the funding of the program and proving their inefficiency, et cetera, will definitely be a legal battle. But, okay, the main thing is not to really focus heavily as much on taking away their funding and taking away essentially their monopoly over society, right? And they're usually going to be faith-based organizations, which is going to be a whole new battle in itself, okay? So that's two battles in one right there. But anyways, so we don't want to really go into that. What I want to do is to go find people in the shelters. Identify the people in the shelters. Use like a networking platform or something somebody can register for. They can go online and say, hey, I want help for this. And so we have various sponsors that we acquire over the course of time, and under the name of Unanimous, we go, we have our various sponsors, and the sponsors go through, they look through profiles and whatnot, and they go and they see people that need help, right? And so when they see these people that need help, they go and they do whatever they can to help them. And they may be able to do everything, they may not be able to do everything. But for whatever reason, or they might could hook them up with somebody who could. Now, we're going to have educational, the goal is to have like educational platforms. The goal is to have like, or I guess an integrated kind of circuit for educational platforms. Hopefully, eventually, scholarships and whatnot. But there will be like sponsors or mentors, kind of like a big brother, big sister kind of thing. And there will be like coaches and people that can really just sit there and go in and take the time, and that will do it, and that will do it without charging people, okay? So I'm not looking for somebody who wants to capitalize. That's not what Unanimous is about. Unanimous is about discovering that there's a problem in society. And it's not just about homelessness. This is just a major, obvious kind of thing for it. But we go in and we say, okay, this person needs identification. This person needs identification. So, example, when you go to these ID assistance programs, they have to go and they have to apply, and it takes at least 2 weeks, right? But we could get one of our sponsors on the phone and say, hey, this person needs identification. They've got everything they need. Okay, boom. Can you forward us the money? Got it. Okay, what about reimbursement? We could do reimbursement, you know? And so, like, okay, we got it. We got that taken care of. Guess what? If they're here in America, they write it off on their taxes. I mean, but, like, it's as simple. Well, okay, now this person not only needs an ID, this person is straight homeless. They're terrified of doing anything by themselves. They're the most friendly, happy-go-lucky, fun-loving person you'll ever meet. And they're so fun to be around. They're so generous. They're so considerate of others. They have a temper. They have a problem getting in trouble because of that temper. So they're roughed up a bit in the streets. They tried drugs. They're not really a fan of it. Maybe they haven't tried drugs. Whatever, okay? But this is one of those quirky personality type people. That's my problem. That's who I am. So this person, when they feel like they're being wronged, they get upset. Now, they don't always lash out because they're really kind. They want to help people. They want to be kind to people. And they're sitting there struggling to help themselves, right? This is the type of people Unanimous will target. They won't just say, okay, this person has been in this situation here, and this person is doing this, and this with their life. That's not our focus. Our focus is going to be, and not like we won't help those people if we can afford it, but the focus is going to be to help those who cannot help themselves, right? Because plenty of people, they can go to the shelter, get kicked out every day at 7:30, 8 o'clock, have to go, rain or shine, do whatever it is they have to do, right? And they can leave, and they can go get a job, and they can go get housing, and they can go get assistance, and they can do whatever they have to do. But there's a lot of people that cannot do that. The only reason I was able to do that for the most part is because I had SSI at the time. So I had some help, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother situation, and that's definitely politics and legal. But the thing is that with these programs, we just pretty much I guess the first thing I'm going to do is this platform. And this platform is going to have access to educational portals. It's going to have access to, it's going to have access to, eventually I'm going to get more and more sponsors involved once I learn to communicate and I can actually pitch a prospect well enough, because these are going to be high-end CEOs. These are going to be celebrities. These are going to be, people that don't have the time nor the patience to deal with somebody who can't hold a conversation proper. So me trying to get them to help me is not going to happen. And I know that. So I have to figure something out. So what I do is I have to work on my nerves. I have to work on my communication skills, not only my interpersonal communication skills, but I need to work on my business professional communication skills. And so that's where I have a hard time, because everything's personal for me. And so I have to depersonalize it and just have the facts and my anxiety, and then also, and people are just super impatient. I don't want people like that on my platform, because people are like that, or what they're going to do is they're going to do the same exact thing that all these programs have been doing from day one. They're going to judge people. They're going to be inconsiderate. Yeah, I'll give you my money. I'll do this. I want to help you. But blah, blah, blah. If we have people that'll just send money and not get involved, that's fine too. Because if they have that mentality, then that's what they're going to have to do, or else I don't want their help. Because there is too many people around the world, and this is not just going to be here in the U.S., this is going to be around the world once it's really up and going, is the plan. And so international governments will be getting involved. Their laws aren't the same as ours, so they can do a lot more than we can. They can take ideas I have for Unanimous and they can put it into law. We can't, So, it's little things like that we can do. People can go and register as mentors. People can go and register as sponsors. They can say, this is my budget. This is how much I have to give. Or they can just give in advance or whatever, We can contact and say, okay, hey, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. What can you do? And so, we do, podcast. I say podcast. Get people involved. Meetup groups, social networking groups, And then not only can people get the help they need, but people can help those who need, right? And the idea isn't to give people jobs. The idea isn't to give them freebies. The idea is to give people a life worth living. The idea is to get people and integrate them into society, or for many, reintegrate them into society in a way where they can be self-sufficient, whether that's some form of homesteading, whether that's some form of career achievement, even if that's just temporarily a job, But we don't want to stop just because they have a job, A job is not the end of it. We want to make sure they have transportation. We want to make sure their credit's built. We want to make sure their criminal record is taken care of. We want to make sure that every obstacle they could possibly have is eradicated. And we're not going to be able to do that by doing it all for them. They're going to have to get up and do it themselves. But what we'll do is we can provide housing. We can provide, safe haven. We can provide transportation. And most importantly, we can provide someone to go with them and do it. If I had the money, what I would do, I say the money, or it's either the money or the time, because if I have the money, I don't have the time. And if I have the time, I don't have the money. You see how that works. But it's because I'm spending too much time making enough money. But I have the money, but now I don't have the time. So I'm sitting here trying to balance money and time. Because if I spend all my time making money, I have plenty of money, but I don't have any time. And so I got to find a place where I don't get stuck in limbo, where it's a catch-22 and I'm back in the same situation. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's the end goal for Unanimous also, is to get people to where they don't have to be in that catch-22, just paycheck to paycheck, making ends meet, or not even making ends meet, and having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to barely make ends meet. And so that's bad for people's health. It's bad for people's mental fragility, it's bad for everything, okay? And it's not right. I mean, like, there's so much that they can do. Like, Amazon has so self-creation programs. There's so many people that like to write that could go on these platforms and they could start writing and making money. Whether it's fiction or not, you know, like there's one I do, Pocket FM, and they literally will pay you to write for them. And I mean, it's like there's all kinds of, maybe that's not the name, sorry, Pocket something. Anyways, but they'll pay you to do it. I mean, there's all kinds of ambitions and kind of repressed dreams that people have, and they don't think they can. And that was my biggest thing. I didn't think I could. But like, how many people, once they see people actually trying, have the money and will be more than happy to fund somebody's education. They'll be more than happy to pay for somebody's registration for their car that they can't afford. They'll be more than happy to help them fix a car that you know, and it's not just about homelessness, like I said, but then you have people. That's just an example for homelessness. They can pay for hotels, or they can take the money that's being spent on hotels and they can actually rent them something for the month and see what happens. Or they can, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of things. They can put them to work and say, okay, like, what if instead of the government giving free housing with people's tax money, why don't they go take people and have them doing city work in exchange for housing? And then once they did a certain amount of city work, a certain amount of hours of community service in that respect, like actually working on things that benefits that government is paying out to provide for, right? Like cleaning up garbage or cleaning up bus stops, going and picking up trash from, you know, doing things that people get paid for, but they don't get paid enough. And it's one of those jobs, you know? So the city pays them, the government pays them, whatever, however you want to say it. But who's paying the government? Well, it's obvious where the government gets their money from, y'all. Okay? So if the government's going to do all this stuff, why don't they balance it out and make it efficient? Why don't, instead of making it so counterproductive? And so, like, and those are just examples. You know, they can do highway cleanup, they can do highway repair, they can do, and I mean, these are things that anybody can be trained to do. You don't have to be a man to do this type of work, and you don't have to be a skilled laborer to do it either. Anybody can be trained to do it. It's not that hard to train somebody to be a flagger. It's not that hard to train somebody to operate a truck. It's not that hard to train somebody to, I don't know, paint, or, you know, repairs, maintenance and stuff is one of those things you gotta be careful with. But like simple things like that, it doesn't take much to figure out how to fill up a freaking pothole, y'all. I'm just saying, okay? Like, it's things that people, I get it, they want to create jobs, but creating jobs, it creates a mentality where you're a slave to the job. And it's not like you're a slave to the rich. Okay, well, yeah, I get it, I see that, I see where they're coming from, but it's that you're slave to the job. Wouldn't you rather be a slave to a job on your own farm? Or wouldn't you rather be a slave to a job on your own platform where you created your app, or you're creating your product and you're selling stuff? Wouldn't you be more, wouldn't you rather be a slave to your, you know, to your own type of thing where you provide for yourself and then you can sell what you have and make money too? Not only do you have what you need, and I'm sorry, I'm partial to farming here, excuse me. Homesteading it, I'm all about it. I just don't have a way to do it. But like, you know, we're so busy worried about imports and tariffs and whatnot. What we need to think about is, okay, we need to stop buying their fruits and vegetables. We can grow our own. We to stop buying their meat. We need to stop buying their rice and beans and whatever else. We need to stop buying their stuff because we can make it ourselves. And then instead of working so hard to fund other countries that are doing nothing but sitting there taking from us, and this isn't just America, y'all, this is everywhere you go. Every single person, if you have friends in another country, if you're from another country and you're seeing this video, I want you to know this is for you too. You're supposed to take care of yourself. Why are you going to go tear your own house down, deprive your own people, deprive your own home so that you can take care of everybody else? Yeah, I get it. There's international disagreements and there's conflict, serious conflict. There's all manner of things. But, I mean, it's one of those things where you got to pick your battles. There's a better way to avoid international conflict than just being slave to trade. There's, free trade is great and all, but we need to consider how we're sponsoring, and it's not just the U.S., everybody around the world. When you do this, you are sponsoring your own economy to provide for someone else that may or may not respect you and may or may not even attack you. Like, they don't care. The fact of the matter is that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to teach each other to take care of ourselves. And so here in America, if we would stop buying avocados from Guatemala and Mexico and tangerines and whatever else, because I see the stickers in the store, I know where it's coming from, okay? And we would actually have local farmers grow our own stuff and put it in our stores and just make it illegal to sell anything else, then we wouldn't have that problem. We would have more people with guaranteed homes. We would have more people with guaranteed skills. Like, then you have the problem at that point, though, you have the problem of monopolies. Not monopoly per se, like not like a legal monopoly that they would legally have to break down. But in theory, I mean, it's technically a monopoly. It's pretty much a monopoly, like the idea of it. So you get all these people that want to invest and they expand their company, and then they go and they say, oh, we'll pay this guy 50 cents a orange to pick all our oranges and put them, and process them, or we'll pay this person, they pay people pennies on the dollar, and they're making god-awful amounts of money, which is really smart, okay? Don't get me wrong. It's super smart. And there's really not too much wrong with it if there was an ability to be able to afford it for the people that are working for them. Because if they're working for you, they're doing something that you either didn't want to do or couldn't do yourself, and that's why you're paying them to do it. But when you're not providing them a living wage, then you need to make a decision. You either downsize your business and probably lose a lot of money, or you pay your workers a decent wage. It's that simple. If somebody's going to be forced to work for someone else, then they need to appreciate their employees, because without their employees, their business would not exist. Okay? And that's just what it is. That goes for any fast food joint, that goes for any grocery store, that goes for any factory, that goes for any car dealership, any car maintenance place, that goes for anything and everything. Manufactured home building, manufactured home sales, any type of anything. Your business is made to keep going. You are empowered and your pockets made fat by your workers. So don't sit there and treat them like slaves, because that's the problem with the economy. That's why nobody wants to work for anybody. And we don't, and I mean, there's those that are just, brainless peons that are just perfectly content to live that typical blue-collar lifestyle, never getting anywhere in life. And just, there's those that are content with that, and that's good for them. But there's those of us who have just been through too much, and we would rather have a lot more. And so that's the type of thing that it's not okay. And even those that are, they're still disgruntled, but they're just realize they're so set in that mentality of, I gotta go work for the man, that's the only way I'm gonna do it, then they don't even think to try and speak out against it. Because in their mind, yeah, I'm not really making ends meet, I'm struggling here, I'm struggling there, but I've learned to live with lack. They got holes in their roof and floorboards falling out, because of that, and their car's all banged up and needing repairs all the time, but no worries, because their buddy's willing to give them a ride to work, or they get laid off and lose everything. Oh well, that's just what it is. So what do? They spend the rest of what they have saved up and they go drink it away. That's your typical blue collar mentality. Like that's what the world, that's what they do. They just, oh well, what's their highlight of their life? Why the highlight of their life is going to the bar on Friday night when they get paid? That's because that's literally all they have to look forward to. That's it. The majority of them meet their wives or husbands at bars, and they're in their mind, their life is good, because in their mind they don't need anything else, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to get it anyways. And of course the alcohol makes it easy on them. It's just what drugs does. But we have to do something about this, And somebody working 2 jobs to make ends meet, sleeping in their car, which was my story, and I'm literally in between jobs. I finally got off of my other job, had enough time to go to the gym and get a shower real quick. It was like 4, almost 5 o'clock in the morning when I finally, got everything. Worked until 2 a.m., didn't get out until like 4 a.m., finally got to the gym, got done, found a place to park about 5:30. Next thing you know, crack of dawn, somebody's waking you up because you can't be sleeping here. You're about to go to jail. Well, wait a minute, officer, I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have nowhere to go. I'm sorry. I kept getting sick at the shelter. They won't do anything about the girl that keeps coughing all over the place. So I had to leave, and I didn't know what to do. So there's nothing I can do. She keeps making me sick, and they won't give me antibiotics because they say I have to be sick for at least 2 weeks before they'll admit that it's not viral. And so then they'll actually give me something, because now we can't even have antibiotics when we're sick. So, what am I supposed to do? I've got 3 hours. I was planning to sleep. I've got my next job. I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I've got my next job in 3 hours. I got to get up, and then I got to go get ready for that. They'll give me about 30-45 minutes to get to work. I said, can you give me a break? Finally, he gave me a break, and I'm like, I don't understand, why they're going to come at somebody like this. I was quiet. Wasn't being loud. I wasn't trashing anything. I didn't have people over here. Didn't do anything. I found a corner in the back of an empty parking lot where I couldn't be seen from the main roadway, and I went to sleep in the back of my van, because that's all I have to do, and I just need 3 hours of sleep. Why is it such a hard thing that somebody working 2 jobs can be arrested for sleeping in their car because people don't want them in their parking lot? But these homeless people that are sitting here doing drugs, and I've seen them. I've literally seen them coming and trying to get some or crystal, or what's the other, ice, or hell, I've even had them ask me for black. You're telling me that these people doing all these drugs that are sitting there living in woods and are scavengers, quite literally, going through, digging in dumpsters, making messes and all this stuff, crapping and peeing all over this place, and you're telling me that, they get more help, and, they're not even trying to work, and some of them are strung out, and some of them are just strung out on their own attitudes, and you're telling me that I'm going to go to jail because I'm in between jobs. I've worked all night, and now I have like 3 hours to maybe sleep, and then I can go to my next job and work all day, and then turn around and do the same thing all over again. And you're telling me that working 2 full-time jobs that I can't afford a place because I'm just struggling to make ends meet. I have to pay this, I have to pay that, I'm behind on this and behind on that. They're going to cut this if I don't do that. Like, you're telling me that I'm going to go to jail because I'm trying to catch 3 hours of sleep? That's the type of thing that we're dealing with. And these people, there's those that you can help, and there's those like myself that had really bad anxiety and just kept coming up short. And then there's those that just abuse the system. And there's those that take advantage of it. That's a main reason why we need to take all welfare programs private market. We need to cut funding entirely. Okay? Well, not entirely, but for the most part, okay? We need to really crack down. Anybody that receives any sort of government assistance has to have a mandatory drug test, even if it's Medicaid. Okay? You can't tell me that's an invasion of privacy when you're getting stuff for free. You can't sit there and tell me that you can't tell me that you're invading privacy, or you're trying to be communistic and controlling because they need to have a drug test. Well, look, let's look at it this way. You're neglecting their health and their needs by denying the ability to find out what's wrong with them. Everybody knows what drugs does. Okay, yeah, they won't qualify for free housing. They won't qualify for food stamps. They won't qualify for a lot of programs that require some semblance of cognitive management, okay? But what they will qualify for is to go get the help they need, whether that's mental health help, whether that's going to jail to detox, whether that's rehab programs, no matter what it is, okay? Look, the fact of the matter is that some people just need to be locked up and taught a lesson. It's that simple. When you're sitting there going around doing the stuff you're doing, and you just don't want to go to programs because you want to do things your way and you don't want to follow rules, which I've met a bunch of them that are like that. They would rather sit there and panhandle and go out and scavenge and set fires and do all this stuff. You know why they do that? They do that because we let them get away with it. They go in the programs, they get the free meals, they go to the soup kitchen. Yes, we should starve them. Yes, we should deny them. You know why? Because there's not enough to go around. And because there's not enough to go around, they're the ones who look the most needy because they refuse to do anything other than take handouts. So when that happens, you have an imbalance in the system, and the system gets broken. You have combat war vets that are going bat crazy in the streets day and night. And some of them take meth just so they won't be having to go to sleep. Whether they're afraid of being attacked, whether they're afraid of nightmares, whatever it is. Bet you didn't know they give them methamphetamines in the field to keep them awake. I don't know what y'all heard about MK Ultra, but I'm telling you, it probably ain't entirely the truth. You know, they sit there and they do what it takes to keep them alert. And unfortunately, that's addicting sometimes. But what about the drug trade? Everybody wants to go after the drug trade, yet you're saying we don't have a right to drug test somebody? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It doesn't work that way. Excuse me. Like, the fact of the matter is that people need to get up and do something. The government and handouts are just, it's no good for people. We need to go out, and this is going to be another it's going to be another political legal thing. And it might hit the fan before it gets better, but whatever. We need to go out and, we need to find people, that are chronically homeless, that are taking all these programs and whatnot, and not getting anywhere with them. and they don't have any legitimate reason. When I say any legitimate reason, I mean that you give them everything they need, not just saying, oh, well, this person can't keep a schedule, they don't show up to appointments, let's go ahead and arrest them. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because I had that problem. If somebody doesn't have transportation, I would get off the bus and walk everywhere, which would make me miss God knows how many appointments. I have ADHD, so my brain chases possums all day, every day. So I get distracted super easy. So appointments, whew, oh no, I forgot I had that, you know. And that's what it is. But like, even going to work, like, I can't think of a time where I had perfect punctuality, and I mean near perfect imperfect punctuality is what I've got. And reason being, well, okay, I've got this done, I got that done. I can have my clothes laid out, I can have my breakfast pre-prepped, I could have everything, my car gassed up, everything you can imagine. And something is going to get me on the way out the door. After I'm ready to walk out the door, something is going to get me. And I just, and that's something that just, I forgot this, I forgot that. Oh, did I lock the door? Oh, crud, did I turn this water off? Oh my gosh, I forgot to turn the heater off. Now I'm going to burn the house down. Oh my God. Before you know it, it's over. Before you know it, I just, oh crap, I forgot to go unplug my heated blanket. But you know what? That's why I get a pre-timed heated, I have a heated blanket. I'm super cold no matter where I go. Everybody always just wants to keep the house on 60 something, and I'm just like, dude, really? Okay, whatever. I'm freezing. So I got a heated blanket, and I use it year round. But I forgot to turn it. I forgot to unplug it. Luckily, it turns itself off after a certain amount of time. So yeah, that's another remedy that worked. Whatever. Okay, so I just did. Now I'm thinking about all the things I could have forgotten. Is what's going on here. The hamster wheel's turning. Okay, so the idea is that people need to just do what they gotta do, okay? And so what we need to do is we need to drug test anybody that receives any sort of help, assistance, whatever, okay? For anybody who tests positive for drugs, first thing we're gonna do is retest them to confirm, okay? The next thing we're going to do, all right, is intervene. We're going to put them on a list, a watch list of sorts. We're going to keep them, we're not going to immediately cut them, we're not going to immediately kick them out of whatever program they're in, or whatever shelter they're in, whatever. What we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to say, okay, this is going to be government protocol, okay? So this actually protects people too. Even those that may have made a mistake. Like some people relapse sometimes and they bounce back real fast. You know, there's all kinds of things. So we're going to give them a couple of chances here. Okay? And so what we do is after we get that positive drug test, so okay, well, this person has had a positive drug test. So now what we're going to do is do not contact the person. Do not tell them their drug test was positive. Okay? Don't say anything. Then they'll start jumping hoops and doing whatever they got to do. So what you do is, because we're not legally prosecuting them, they don't need any due process. Okay? So what we do is we sit there and we ban shelters from kicking them out with one positive drug test. Okay? They have to have 2 positive proven drug tests within 3 months. Okay? So we give them, 1 month. No, 3 months. So we give them enough time to try and fix themselves, right? We give them enough time. Now, if they're acting belligerent because they're on drugs, that's different. If they're not doing stuff and they're not following program guidelines and then they get a drug test, then immediately kick them out. But when it comes down to government programs and stuff, we're not just going to shun them. Maybe cut their funding. Maybe, yeah. But on the street with nothing and nowhere. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So what we do is, after we put their name on that watch list, we pay attention and we say, okay, and we hire, we have like a task force to go out and keep an eye on these people. And so they'll go and they'll look at their progress and they'll see what's going on. Essentially a type of PI that works for the government, I guess. That's the best I got. And so they'll see what's going on with their records, they'll see what's going on with their accounts, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they'll have to have a court order by the judge, which will be provided, okay? And then what they'll do is they'll go and they'll be like, okay, and really we don't need a court order from the judge if we pass legislation on it. So if they want to go there, we can go there, because I don't have the time nor the patience for it. And like I said, that's a legal battle and a whole nother video. But okay, so if they have continual mess ups and it's actually impacting their ability to function, not only are we going to kick, then we take them to court, okay? At this point, they're going to be formally indicted, okay? And then they're going to be given an opportunity to prove themselves. They try to say they're not on drugs, they better not swear it under oath, because we automatically got them on perjury. Okay? So what you do is you pretty much what you're gonna do is you're gonna take these people that are chronically homeless and doing drugs and whatnot, and not only those on drugs, but we'll start with that, and then you're gonna essentially prosecute them. You're going to pretty much arrest them on federal fraud, okay? And then they're going to be formally indicted, whatever. And so you take them and then you give them a plea deal. That's going to be a default plea deal. We're going to do this, 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 and this. You go into this program, you complete this amount of this, and we will, you know what I mean? If you do this, 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 and that, we'll do this, 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 and that. So they have to become self-sufficient, or at the very least, not self-sufficient. They have to be actively making efforts towards self-sufficiency, and they have to somehow maintain either a residence or progress towards a residence, and in which case there will be and not just an address, not just somewhere, hey, I'm living here. They need to show self-sufficiency. Okay, where are you getting your money from? Because at this point, they're officially cut from government assistance in any cash form whatsoever, okay? Whether it's food stamps, whether it's any sort of TANF, no matter what, okay? And if they have kids, then they're just going to have to be separated. Then what you do is you offer them this plea deal, and they have to show a certain amount of effort, right? You'll offer them like community service, whatever, and all the help, whatever, but they're going to have to do it, and they're going to have to sit it out and wait it out. They're going to spend a certain amount of time in jail, mandatory, no matter what, okay? Unless, of course, they have a vehicle, they have pets, whatever, that's something we can consider, and they can walk, But people are going to have to stop abusing the system. And so if you take that legislation and you pretty much legally blackmail them, they will, a lot of them, get up and do what they have to do. Now, the problem with that and being able to go ahead and implement that is there's not enough programs. Another thing we need to do in that respect, especially drug rehab, court-ordered rehab, and court-ordered programs like that, we have a lot of people, like I was saying earlier, that will sit there and they'll gang up on people, okay? And they'll be what they shouldn't, they'll mistreat them, they'll gang up on them, they'll kick them out of programs because of the slightest attitude, whatever. They'll literally 86 them just because they argued about having to leave. And then they lost their address, they lost their stuff, they lost their information, their identification. Everything that was in progress is already gone now, right? All because somebody was just being careless and throwing them out without concern. Especially in the name of Christianity. That makes me so sick. And I have personally been victimized by it before. Because I don't serve your religion, you're going to throw me out because I serve mine, and that's what I should be able to do in the United States. But because this is quote a Christian program, okay, if it's a Christian program, it doesn't need government funding because this is not a Christian country. This is a free country. But again, that's a whole nother one on itself, and that's a whole series, not just one. But the idea is to force people to do what they need to do while still helping them to do it. So we can't just sit there and say, okay, we're going to come prosecute you and mandate this program for you, and this is the only way your life's going to improve. Otherwise, you're going down for federal fraud because you're abusing the system and you're just lying and taking advantage and not even trying. First have to make sure that the program will work for them, that it has potential. So this is where we have to go in and we have to do a whole slew of investigations to see what program is doing what, why, and how, and to what extent. And that is something that I would rather have a non-government private investigator team to do. We could use it for media, we could use it for reality programs. We can do all kinds of stuff, and we can see how people treat people. We can see how people do things, and we can literally have people just go set people off on the camera just to make sure they know that they're not going to get away with it, kind of thing. And then we go, and then of course it'll be a documentary type program, so that then we can go in with lawyers and we can legally sue and force changes in the programs, right? If necessary. Of course, we always want to negotiate first. But those are just some ideas. Like, that would be something that I would do with, like, celebrities or whatever. But the thing is to go into okay, so the thing is once we get programs working for the people, then we can get people doing what they're supposed to do. Another thing is that some people are just incapable of handling things, whether they're physically disabled and can't make ends meet, whether they're mentally disabled and can't make ends meet. And we need to start going, and instead of committing someone in a type of mental health program, we commit someone in the same process, but we do it with adult protective services. And so the plan here is that it's like CPS in that, yes, they're protected, whatever, but it's more to protect them from themselves instead of like everybody else. It's not like somebody's necessarily being abused or victimized. It's just that they're incapable of handling the world on their own. So in order to protect them and to provide for them, we go to court and we pretty much prove them mentally or psychologically incompetent to care for themselves. And then what we do is we go and we put them in adult protective services and programs where we can actually get things done. And then they'll get the help they need, whatever that is. And then, yeah. But then another obstacle there with something like that is because the first thing they want to do is diagnose somebody with mental health issues. And just because somebody has mental issues or psychological issues doesn't mean they need to be drugged up on medicine. And that's another, fork in the gears kind of thing of effects. It also is not the right medicine a lot of the times. And the majority of the time, people don't need medicine. They might need a little bit of sedative to calm them down, get them some rest and whatever. But what happens is people go into homeless programs and they get diagnosed with mental illness. And so the first thing you want to do is send them to the local mental health initiative. And that's usually the one who does all the charity and welfare. They're literally in the integrated circuit. They're part of the homeless resources. So, of course, they have all kinds of housing and resources and whatnot. So the first thing they do is go tell you to go get checked in with them, regardless if you have a mental health history or not. And so when you go in, especially those who do have, like me and CPS, everybody's bipolar. Everybody. It doesn't matter what we've been through. It doesn't matter what we have to deal with. We're always bipolar. And bipolar is a chemically induced imbalance. It is without warning. It has no trigger. It's just naturally ups and downs and arounds and arounds. And so a lot of trauma and people who have trauma, especially childhood trauma, and they grow up in these programs, a lot of us have to deal with emotional issues, and everything could seem fine, and we could be just hanging out and having a good time with everybody, and something would set us off. And it would set us off because it reminded us of something, or because it reminded us of something we didn't have, or because we were just having a hard time and we just started thinking about something, and that set us off because that started reminding us of something. So now everybody's fine, and all of a sudden you're in a corner crying. Now everybody's fine, and all of a sudden you're irritable for no reason. You could just be goofing off and lollygagging about, and then get lost and laughing or whatever, and something sad is on TV, or somebody's watching something, and you were kind of watching it but not really, and then you walk away, blah blah blah, and start goofing off and playing around, and all of a sudden you're having a manic episode, And I mean, you go to a doctor and you try to talk and you can't talk because your nerves, and this is my biggest thing, even when I was an adult, and they say you're manic because you're talking too fast and you're not listening and blah blah blah. And so it's not mania, it's nerves. But that's their favorite diagnosis out of everything, is bipolar disorder. And so it just really sucks, because that's the whole issue for the whole economy and everything. And if we could get people going and doing programs that are actually helping them, actually improving them, teaching them how to start their own business, teaching them how to manage money, teaching them how to, and not just teaching them how, but helping them do it, walking with them and holding their hand, getting people off of drugs and sticking with them, and not throwing them to the curb when they upset you or they do something disrespectful or ungrateful or whatever. Once you start doing stuff like that, you start to realize that people actually will start to change. And so the big goal here is to find a way to destroy taxes altogether. So we don't want the government controlling our lives. We don't want the government coming and taking our money, because they have a bunch of people that don't understand and don't care for the most part. They do, but I mean, that negligence is a condescending attitude, and that condescending attitude comes from a place of arrogance, and that arrogance comes from a place of ignorance, and that ignorance comes from a place of not refusing to observe, and that refusal to observe is just a whole big cycle, so like it could be religious discrimination at the core of it all. It could be hypocrisy of religion is one of the main reasons it happens. But the fact of the matter is, we have to come together as a people. We the people, for the people, by the people. That's here in the U.S. But I think that could really apply anywhere. And once our governments, respective governments, see, maybe maybe not the government's in charge at the time, like regarding China and whatever else. But for those of you who want to argue, that's just a disclaimer. But for the most part, oh dear, excuse me, sorry. For the most part, even the government will start to see, and legislation will start being moved in that direction. We can't just throw money at the problem, and we can't just take money away from the problem. Money's required to fix the problem. It is, okay? But it's not the only thing required, and you can throw as much money as you want at it, and it's not going to do anything but make it worse. I mean, okay, maybe not make entirely worse, but it'll make everything worse. Everything will be a mess, you know? And so the goal here, my goal for Unanimous, is to get the public working on the public and let the government work on the government. And if the government has a problem working on the government, then the public here in the United States of America has a right to work on the government too. Okay? So, we the people, for the people, by the people, the government shouldn't control us. They just shouldn't. Not to this extent. Okay? But at the same time, the government is there to help us. And they need to do their job. Instead of going and fighting wars and starting wars because of religion around the world that causes our people to suffer and die, and their families to break it apart and fall apart inside, and the next rebel militia comes from said, fallen soldiers. Like, what are we supposed to do when we can't fight and we can't really make it stop? How are we supposed to take care of our fallen soldiers? Whether they're fallen physically or not, they obviously don't need the care the world gives them now, but they're injured. They're physically maimed. Their life is destroyed. Their mind, gone. I mean, they never will ever see things the same ever again. Once you've seen war, you just don't unsee it. You see things from a different perspective, and that's healthy for some. But for those that can't handle it, it's not. Unanimous also, I have some things that I've been working on because I have really severe PTSD, but it's not combat PTSD. It's just from being raped and beaten and whatever, a bunch of stuff in various circumstances, and that as an adult. And then it started when I was a kid, and it just never got treated from sexual abuse and whatnot. So it makes a mark on you, okay? But then my father apparently made some people mad in Vietnam, and they just... I was 15 years old, and my boyfriend at the time went to introduce me to his mother, and she just flipped. He said she made so many phone calls that night. We were in East Texas, and they were... I guess her husband was in the service with Bush, and Bush was president at the time. And so anyway, she made so many phone calls, apparently she tried to talk to him himself. So shortly before I turned 18, my life went to hell. And some people started showing up, and it was obvious, and I just didn't put two and two together until it was far too late. But I mean, I'm doing the best I can, but yeah, that's what it is. So I got a little bit of that PTSD because of that. But through that, from various people trying to show up out of the blue and help, and from various people that I contacted to get help showing up, and all kinds of things, from meeting and being able to access some of the information, I started tapping into some offices and trying to figure out remote viewing, and I had dreams since I was a kid. Like, I'd had all kinds of experiences, and then a decade more later it happens just like it did in the dream. And I'm like, I don't get that. I don't understand, like, things that I was told, entities come to me, like angels and demons and whatnot. And Christ himself has came to me in my dreams. They can't call me crazy. I'm not hallucinating because I'm asleep, Whatever. Anyway, so I did some dabbling with some demon companionship. And I started figuring some things out, and I started seeing some things. That's how I know for a fact you can't unsee it. You can't unlearn it. You can't. You'll never be the same. And that can be a really good thing. It can be a really beneficial thing. But that's another aspect of Unanimous with the PTSD specifically. There's a very specific treatment program that I've been working on that has to do, it integrates shadow work pretty much. But I haven't really sat down and put it all on paper yet. So it's all just kind of a jumble in my mind that I've been working for myself, and it's actually working. But I'll get into that later. I'm in Hickory now, and I'm gonna go grab something to eat, and then I'm gonna get started on my dashing. But I just wanted to take some time. I've done like three or four, maybe 5 different videos trying to find the right one to put up there. And every time I think I've got the right one. But I think this is how I'm just going to start off doing things. Is I'm just going to start sharing it like this. I know it's super long. I'm sorry. It's kind of like a journal, but I'm still trying to spread awareness. And I don't know any video editing. I got to get a laptop so I can, I have Programming Hub, but it teaches me how to do app design and stuff like that. But in order to move any further in the course, I have to do it as I'm moving in on the course. So I need a laptop to do that. So I gotta get a laptop here within the next few weeks, hopefully. And then I'll start working on Android Studio, and I'll have to learn how to use that. Once I learn how to use that, I can build web apps, and I'll start building Unanimous. It'll probably be really base and really, plain and bland, but really flat, I guess is the word you're looking for. But it's something. It's a start, and with time I'll do updates, and I'll make it better. And Unanimous isn't going to be a money-making app, but I'll be wanting to make money. I'll be wanting to do, I have some ideas for money-making apps that I'm obviously not going to share on here, so that somebody doesn't steal my ideas. But yeah, so everybody has to start somewhere, and I feel like I was called to a light worker path. And I just want to use everything that I possibly can to help everybody that I possibly can. And in the meantime, if I help myself, great. If not, somebody somewhere had benefited from it, and I wasn't doing anything, but it's not like I have anything better to do with my mental energy, and my emotional. I don't have nobody to go home to. I don't have, my boyfriend didn't work out. I don't think he was really serious about me once he realized that I wasn't spiritually in tune, because the black magic and whatnot. I haven't even really started doing anything. Just random things like, incubus spirits and whatnot. The empowerment, the pact of Foss that I really haven't even gotten into yet. Like, there's all kinds of things that I've been working on that I haven't really got that far yet. So I wanted to really strategic blasphemer perspective and stance. And I'm definitely going to be literally devil's advocate. But if you can see past the vocabulary terms, if you will, then you'll be able to see the heart behind it. And the heart behind it is what I want to show people, because lots of people are going to have hope if I can get this up and going in various spirituality and whatnot. They're not going to have to run to the church. And the church is depriving everybody anyways. Where the church is supposed to be the one Mother Teresa-ing everybody, you know? So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go get a burger and get started on work. I think this is the video I'm actually going to upload, so. Please refrain, I can't talk. Everything tumbles together. I'm sorry. It's my nerves. Please withhold your negativity and judgment and refrain from making cruel comments. It's not welcome, it's not accepted, and it's not wise. It actually makes you look bad in the long run, even though it does cause my channel to have, you know, some bad things. And if I have to come after you in the long run, come on, I will, okay? And I'll come after you in ways you might not understand, because I very much intend to get government help, and I very much intend to start changing things. And you do not get away with slandering, defaming somebody's reputation because you just want to run your mouth ignorantly. So just be mindful of what you say and how it impacts things, because I'm doing this to help people, okay? And I'm not going to sit there and play the, you're an idiot, I can do this better, and then you go out and cause a ruckus, because I've done that before. But anyways, I'm where I need to be now, and so I'm going to go ahead and end this. Spread the word, please.